Hello, I'm Nathan.
And I'm Jody, and this is Word on the Web.
All right. And today's question is centered around young adults and what it's like for a young adult who comes into the shelter.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because that's one of the fastest growing populations within our unhoused right now for such sad reasons. You know, they're being removed from their household because of how they identify, what their sexual orientation is, very misunderstood, very unseen. Yeah. And then suddenly they're out on the street, and then they come to us in our shelter where, you know, a large amount of the people who are experiencing homelessness are older. Yeah. And so finding connection.
Yeah, there's a real disconnect between those two populations.
Yeah, scary enough to be experiencing homelessness, but doing it as a young adult, like I can't even imagine. So when I knew it was about this question, I wanted to bring Nikki from Project Wellbeing. Do you want to introduce
Nikki,
yourself?
yeah.
Yes. Hi, I'm Nikki, and I am the director of Project Wellbeing.
And I guess we want to kind of lean into you because I know that you're kind of sometimes the first touch for those younger adults who are finding their way to interfaith. Yeah. What's that been like for you?
Well, it's really complicated. It can be really complicated. They're young, and sometimes it's hard to find ways to connect with them or to connect them to the right programming or something that really puts a spark in them.
Yeah.
So that's been the hardest part. But I can talk about Shiloh, who came into the shelter at 18. And my first encounter with Shiloh was our Street Chic boutique. So we had a guest start the Street Chic boutique, and Shiloh was in there for a fashion show. And
I think we need to say a little bit about it in case somebody doesn't know.
Well, so the Street Chic boutique was created by another guest, Deb.
Yes.
Who is now housed, thankfully, but she always had fantastic fashion. Deb walked down the street and
she looked good.
She looked
all
good
the time.
And she really, really believed that part of how you heal is really feeling good about yourself. And she didn't understand why so many of the people experiencing homelessness didn't take care with how they looked. And then she realized it's because they didn't feel like it mattered. And she didn't like that. Mm-hmm. And so she met with Nikki and I, and she's like, I really want to do a higher end thrift shop where guests can come in and I can stylize them for special occasions, big appointments, interviews, things like that. And of course, Nikki and I were like,
so these are donations that we would receive that are of a...
Well, we did a different kind of reach out. Okay. Usually we ask for it's hot outside, so we need this, this, and this. It's cold outside, we need this. We need more underwear, things like that. This time it was specifically we're looking for more of your higher end donations so that we can help our guests style up to help them get out of homelessness. Yeah. And so we did this call out, and I mean,
yes,
we were flooded with such great stuff, the hats and the shoes and the handbags. And so we came up with the name, and the Street Chic Boutique was born, and it lives inside our Project Wellbeing classroom.
Yep.
So then Shiloh.
Yeah, then Shiloh came in to do the fashion show with Deb.
And the fashion show was for a photo shoot for Word on the Street, so that we could ask for more call-outs.
Yep.
See how it's all connected.
Yes.
Yep, it all works together.
And that's exactly it. These things bring people in, and then when people are in, we get to see what they need. Yeah. So the Street Chic boutique brought in Shiloh. And we might not have seen Shiloh if we didn't have this fashion show or whatever that looked like. So he came in and I kind of talked to him because he was so young, and that just right away, I'm okay, I need to see what's going on, see how I can help, see what he needs, see how I can help him feel safe here, because I know that it's really scary. And he was a little hesitant, but I was just keep coming in. You can come and help with the boutique. You can come get clothes, whatever you need.
And he stylized so many guests.
Yes.
He became the Street Chic Boutique.
Yes.
That was his thing. When donations came in, that boutique is very well like it's
Boutique
set
manager.
up.
Oh
It
yeah,
is.
and
Like,
Shiloh was trying on all the clothes.
It had to get
we
screened
had so
first.
much fun.
Yeah.
Like he would come out in outfits. He's like, "How's this?" And then he'd have other people come out in outfits. I mean, we were doing fashion shows like every day.
Yeah, and
with
he
Shiloh.
loves fashion,
Yes.
which was like something we didn't know about Shiloh, but like Shiloh very much responds to not just how he looks, but he also likes to help other people and how they look. So that kind of started giving you a feel for like Shiloh's capabilities, because he's a fantastic communicator.
Yes, and he is just such a good kid. He's just such a good human. And so it started with the Street Chic Boutique, and then he started coming to Project Wellbeing, and just slowly started warming up. The difficulty is Project Wellbeing can be a mix of ages, and so Shiloh was like the youngest one, and then at the time I had some older guests, and so I think he felt really safe there with the older guests because we all kind of like wrapped our arms around him and just really like cared for him and made sure he was okay. So I think it was really good. The thing that we needed to do was figure out what was next for him. Like what do you want to do next? You love clothes, you love fashion. What's the next step?
Yeah, now what?
Now what? And so
And really, like, honestly, I don't mean to keep, but like, because I got to participate in this.
yeah.
He didn't have a lot of hope for a while. He really didn't know how to dream about more. He was pretty sullen. He did not believe. And
Kind of closed himself off.
he
from
really
some
like he
possibilities
was just
even.
kind of like, I'm resigned to this. I'm homeless. I'm misunderstood. My family didn't love him. Like a lot of trauma came with Shiloh.
yeah.
That is
Nikki was so patient because he's also young, and so he wasn't always making the greatest choices. Like it was hard to get him out of his dorm.
Yeah.
Like he didn't want to get out of bed. Like she had to parent him.
Yeah.
But she did. And that's exactly what he needed. For the first months of his stay at the shelter, he was not ready to launch yet.
No, not at all.
And
he-
Nikki was very patient about that.
I mean, he's a teenager.
yeah, he
And
is.
so I'm like thinking of my teenagers. Sometimes they don't want to get out of bed. Sometimes it's really hard. And then to think of all the barriers he had to overcome this
Yes.
stuff. Like, so it's just like he's a teenager and he's trying to figure out life, and he's never had that opportunity to have somebody love him and care for him in a way that he can find hope.
Unconditionally.
Unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what Shiloh needed. And it did take a long time for
Yep.
him to trust
Yep.
in that we were there for him and that we weren't going anywhere and we were going to support him in, in the process.
Yeah.
We weren't trying to hurry him. We wanted him
Well,
to.
that was the key.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
find his way
Yeah.
on his own, empower him to make those decisions.
Yeah, and then, but we did start to see like Shiloh was like kind of one of our first real young adults, but then all of a sudden there was 5 young
Yes.
adults, and he was kind of helping to like bring them to Nikki to get them engaged. But we saw like this real problem, and our programming is not designed for 18, 19-year-old. It's not. They need to get away from the shelter. We needed to look outside of our walls where like we're all about like on-site, easy access. But for this age group, they really need to break free of
Make
their
some
homelessness.
connections out in the community.
Yeah, and so remember we talked, because Nikki, before she came to Interfaith Sanctuary, was with Idaho Youth Ranch.
Yep.
And so
Yeah, I worked for the Youth Works program. So it's working with at-risk young adults and helping them get ready for the work. It's like a work program. So we're preparing them to go to work, but we're also like wrapping them up and caring for them and like helping them with like interview skills, budgeting, college, how to prepare for all the adulting that they'll be
Life
doing.
skills.
Yeah, life skills.
yeah,
So
and it's a program that you can apply for. So we invited like the current person who runs Idaho Youth Works to come present to Project Wellbeing. And there was 5 young adults there. Sarah was there, so of course she's like, I'm in. But Shiloh was one of the ones who like raised his hand, and boy, that is where you ask where the spark happens. Shiloh getting engaged in Idaho Youth Works, He applied. He had to wait at least 3 months before he actually got to be in the program. But talk about like what that experience was like for him.
Well, I think it was just so great for Shiloh to be around other kids, other teens and young adults. That was a huge thing for him. And just having that structure, and then realizing like, oh, I can really do this. Like, I'm good at this. Like, I'm good with clothes. I'm good at communicating. I can be a leader in this. And it just...
So just to back up a little bit, the job program itself, what he's learning is inventory, warehousing, customer service, working directly in the Idaho Youth Ranch thrift stores. So really touching in on the business side of thrifting and also being that customer service ringing up sales. So he's getting all of this job experience through this 7-week program with a stipend. They actually, like, after you've completed this, they are giving you, you know, some revenue to support your next dream after that.
And Shiloh just really took off with it, and he never missed a day, always early. Always checking in at lunch. Like, he would get like a 30-minute lunch break, and he was right downtown, so he'd come to Project Wellbeing and he was like, I got 30 minutes for lunch. And he would come in and we'd feed him, and we're like, go, and he's like, I gotta go back to work. And he just really grew and blossomed from that experience.
And it was just 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
And then the graduation, like Nikki, I asked how it went, and so there's a graduation ceremony for the participants, but they don't like have like a formal like graduation speech or anything. But Shiloh was so moved from this program that he actually asked if he could do a graduation speech, and they're like, so they let him. And we have a video which we'll put on the web so that people can see it. It's Shiloh's graduation speech and what that program meant to him. And then after he did his graduation, he came in to talk to Nikki and I, and he said that he was going to overcome some of the things that was holding him back, not asking for more from himself, because he said the best revenge is success. And so all this like anger that he'd been harboring and like it was really holding him down, he's like, I'm gonna do away with that, and I'm just gonna soar now. And it like he just opened up in such a big way. And
now he's
so what's he doing now is the question, right?
So through the YouthWorks program, they continue with these kids if they want, with either job. Sometimes they'll hire them in the stores at the Idaho Youth Ranch, or they can go on and work with Trio, who Trio helps them get ready for college. So Shiloh is going to Lewis and Clark College. So he has applied, he's been accepted, he's onto the FAFSA part of the process, but he's ready to go. He's talked to the administration or the admissions counselor, and so Shiloh's going to college.
He's making it happen.
He is making it happen. I have like not a doubt that he will do this and he will be successful, because when Shiloh makes up his mind, he's gonna go for it. So he was so proud of himself when he got the acceptance, when they said you were accepted, and he was like, I've never felt so proud. I've never been more proud of myself than I am today.
That's awesome.
So
and that, I mean, that's what we hope for, like anyone who comes into our shelter system. Like, we are all about second chances and building back hope. And, you know, it was a year and a half of solid just being there for that kid who, like, we are so, so proud of him. But that's kind of the saga of young adults experiencing homelessness. Like, God, you hope they land in a safe space, because then, like, hopefully the right things surround them and they're able to not go terribly off course because of all the influences that are out there. And so thank goodness
Yeah,
for.
there were two things that came to my mind. One is connection and one is direction. And
that rhymes.
Right, it works.
That's
right.
fantastic.
I mean, you connected with him.
Yeah.
He then connected with a talent and an interest and a passion. He then found his people. The connections just continue to happen.
Yeah.
All the way to connecting him to college.
Yeah.
And now, he's ready, taking that momentum forward. And he just needed some direction, like every young adult.
Yeah,
does.
but I think it really starts with safe space for these people.
Yeah.
Love it.
If we weren't there in that moment, like, he wouldn't have had anywhere to go.
I know. Yeah.
Like, how would we have connected with him? So these programs and this, having safe space for these young adults or anyone, and especially the young adults, because they don't really know where to go.
Yeah.
But having, the safe space during the day makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Because maybe they aren't ready to engage, and maybe it's scary for them to, like, join a group or, do this. But if they have a space where they can sit and relax and kind of, like, observe and see what's going on, they can kind of slowly grasp something.
Yeah.
And, I'm just lucky that I can be there and maybe slowly help them. Like, hey, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
This is a safe space.
Yeah.
And so I really think it's safe space and then connection, and then it goes from there. Direction,
and the
connection,
patience
direction.
Of a saint.
Right.
Because there
As I
is
say, Interfaith is
patience
so lucky.
We're a patient program. We see people where they're at, and like if you do understand that most people who are entering our system are experiencing some kind of trauma, that holding space for a certain amount of time is what actually will allow them to stay and heal. If you push too hard, they don't feel seen and they feel judged. So, such a fantastic story.
Yeah, what a beautiful story.
Yeah.
So,
Yay,
Shiloh
Yay,
is
Shiloh.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yep, we love Shiloh.
Nikki, thanks for coming to visit again.
Yeah,
we love
thanks for having me.
We love you having a word on the web.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's another episode of Word on the Web.
Word on the web.
Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to send any other questions you have.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.